The third generation iPod is the oldest iPod that I currently have, and this was announced on April 28th, 2003, and it was released on May 2nd of that same year. And I don't have a second generation iPod to compare, but its big new features were its touch wheel, because you could now simply just touch the wheel and just touch all the buttons in order to navigate it. And another cool feature is that all the buttons are touch also, which is really nice. This is the only iPod with all touch buttons, which is really cool. This iPod's other big headline feature, which was very important for Apple products for the next 9 years, was that it introduced the 30-pin dock connector, which you just plug in. However, it still relied on FireWire for charging. However, you could also use USB for syncing, which is a big feature. And its initial storage capacities for when it launched were 10 gigabytes for $299, 15 gigabytes for $399, and 30 gigabytes for $499. And in September 2003, a 20 gigabyte model replaced the 15 gigabyte model, and the 40 gigabyte model replaced the 30 gigabyte model. And right here I have the 20 gigabyte model. Now, aside from looking at myself in the back, let's just move on to some other basic features. So right up here you have your hold switch, where basically you can't touch any of the buttons or something from your pocket, which is a really nice feature. It'll just lock. You also have the headphone jack right here with this little remote connector that you can use to connect various audio accessories and remotes and whatnot. And just looking around, you have your buttons here, including fast forward, rewind, menu, and play or pause. And then right here, something interesting about the back is that it actually says 2003 Apple Computer Inc., because this is before Apple officially changed their name to Apple Inc. And now let's go ahead and look around this iPod. So as you can tell right here, our basic playlist and browse functions, which you can browse the songs on this iPod. This iPod has like over 2,000 songs on it, but I believe this might have been pirated since there are some duplicate tracks. But going into extras, you have a lot of cool features like clock. You can not only set an alarm clock, but you can also set a sleep timer and the date and time. And thanks to this iPod thinks it's 2000 for some reason. And you can also add your contact list to this iPod. And you can use it like an old PDA, but I don't believe modern iTunes and finer versions can do that. And then you can also use calendar and just set your various events, which is pretty cool, just like an old PDA. You can also sync your notes over from your Mac or PC, I believe. But more importantly, you can also play games on this, including Brick, Music Quiz, Parachute, and Solitaire. And my favorite game, I think, is a classic called Brick, which is like a version of Atari's Breakout. It is really fun to play. And even though I never played Atari Breakout, since I don't know if you can tell from my voice, but I am 16 and I've never really been into vintage gaming, but I have been into vintage Apple devices, so playing Brick gives me a lot of nostalgia from back when I got my iPod minis in 2019. Alright, so you can also play Parachute, which is another one of my favorites, where you basically have to shoot the planes. I like the sounds that this click wheel makes. They're very fun. And you can also import photos to this iPod, although I'm not sure why you would do that, because it says monochrome display. So you couldn't really see digital photos, but okay. Voice memos, again, I suppose you could sync voice memos over this iPod and play them, though I've not tested that. And then you can change settings on this iPod if you want, including you can add a bunch of stuff to the main menu. But if you go into about this iPod, as you can tell, this has 3,191 songs on it. Then you can also turn off and on the backlight, which I personally prefer on, just so that way I can see it easier, but you can also have it off. And so, yeah, that is the tour of the third generation iPod in 2024. And these iPods today go for around $40. They're not really expensive, and they're a lot more reasonably priced than the second and first generation iPods, which is why I got this, so I could have reasonably priced really old iPod. But as always, thank you all for watching this video. I'm the iTunes Fanboy, and as always, peace out. Like podcasts. Or actually, no, you can't.